Mama says that he's bona fide.
It's Halloween 2023, and I'm about to make a sort of pilgrimage to visit the footsteps of two men who arguably started what a lot of us enjoy today. But on Halloween, though, I didn't think this through very well. Let's do this. Out of the darkness and into the immersiverse. What's up, y'all? It's your immersive tour guide, Kenny James. And I decided to step out of the Temple of Boom this time, as it's going through its rebuild, to take a little personal pilgrimage. But past few years, I've visited a few different sites that are keys to my musical life, like Paisley Park, just outside of Minneapolis, Motown in Detroit, Stax and Sun Studio in Memphis, but today, I'm in a place where I believe all of those places came from. Welcome to Mississippi, home of the Delta Blues, and arguably the birthplace of just about any music you're listening to today. I say arguably because a large number of people aren't aware of the roots of the music they're listening to nowadays. The thing is, it all came from somewhere and inspired by someone or someplace. Your favorite artist was inspired by someone who in turn was inspired by someone else, and on down the line like a trickle-down effect, sort of. For me, the melodic roots were born and subsequently inspired others to came from the simple 1-4-5 chord progressions, and that came to prominence with the blues. I'm saying all that to say, in mind, this is where it all started, personally, and particularly with Charlie Patton and the mysterious Robert Johnson. Speaking of Robert Johnson, I'm standing in Clarksdale, Mississippi, at a site dubbed The Crossroads. Now, supposedly Robert Johnson went to the Crossroads and sold his soul to the devil to be a famous, great guitar player. Problem with that, besides the obvious soul-selling thing, is that this spot right here is not the actual crossroads. This is. So here I stand at the intersection of Lusk and Walker Road, commonly referred to as the Devil's Crossroads or simply the Crossroads. The legend says that this is the spot where one night Robert Johnson reportedly sold his soul to the devil for fame and to be a truly great guitar player. The real backstory is that early in Robert's playing days, he tried to sit in on a Sun House gig one night, but he was too inexperienced to musically hang with Sun and essentially got booed and or booted off the stage, leaving the venue in disgrace. Now, supposedly no one saw nor heard from him for a long while after that, until one night he came to another gig, asked to sit in, and subsequently blew everyone away with his playing. That's when the rumor started that the only way he got this good, this fast, was he must have gone to the Crossroads and sold his soul to do this. Thus, the beginning of the dark legend of Robert Johnson. I don't think back then many took into account that he must have just merely secluded himself for a while and just woodshedded. You know, just practiced a lot with his guitar and came back with a renewed confidence and abilities. Think about that. Plus, Crossroads angle makes for better gossiping anyway, so why not, right? In any case, my belief is that Robert caught wind of the Crossroads story and figured that it'd make for a great backstory for him and for this new persona. It'd get people to talk about him, and that bad press is better than no press, so he played on it. That's just my thinking. I don't know. Don't know that to be fact or anything. In any case, this spot is revered in the history of music with more current artists writing about it, movies made about it, etc. Now, as a Christian man, I'm not worried about my soul being here particularly not on Halloween. By the way, being here today wasn't planned at all. It just worked out that way. In any case, while I'm not overly intimidated here, it doesn't do good to tempt or instigate. So let's move on down the road to the birthplace of the blues, the genre that started it all, Dockery Farm. Welcome to Dockery Farms, the reported birthplace of the blues. It was here down the road from the infamous Crossroads, back that way. That back in the late 1800s to early 1900s, folks could come and get paid to work during the day, and where many a bluesman would congregate and jam together at night, and definitely on the weekends. Now, many'd come and go, but one employee here at the farm stood out from everybody else. His name was Charlie Patton. Now, Charlie was a very sharp man of African, Native American, and Caucasian descent, who, despite only standing 5'5", had a booming voice that could be heard up to 500 yards away. Some stories suggested that his booming voice lured other artists to the farm to join him in jamming. Now, he successfully combined his heritage as a black Native American in a number of songs, but one song that stood out to me anyway in that regard was Down the Dirt Road Blues. Where he combined his blues roots with not only native-style rhythms, but also singing lines having gone to the nation and the Territow, referring to the Cherokee Nation's part of the Indian territories in what's now Oklahoma. Now, here at the farm, and influenced by Henry Sloan, the father of the Delta Blues, also known as the Mass Marvel, developed his style and had associations with a number of bluesmen such as Son House, Willie Brown. He taught Chester Burnett, who we know as Howlin' Wolf, how to play guitar, and the legendary Robert Johnson. Charlie spelled his name ending in IE, although promoters and record labels spelled it ending in EY. Now, Charlie was a little different with his gigs. Rather than just arriving in town and trying to play anywhere he could, he was actually booked in advance for shows all around, such as New York City and annually in Chicago. And speaking of shows, he was definitely a showman, being arguably the first to play behind his back, behind his head, on his knees. Just think of Jimi Hendrix, but 30 or 40 years earlier. But it all started here at Dockery Farms, the birthplace of the blues.
Who you gonna get?